Greetings, this is Bradford, Donald, Keller, Townsend, and this is a forward research report. Defamation of character. I am bringing this up as I am a Grand Master Knight. I am of several houses, Bruce, such as Robert the Bruce, Stuart, and the Jacobins, were famous approximately 300 years ago in England, Scotland, France. That was a movement led by a family. So Bruce, Buchanan in Scotland, Stuart, and all of those are actually from Britain, like in France and Normandy, and they came over with William the Conqueror and were given estates in England and Scotland, Ireland, for their loyalty, and then those were passed down to the oldest son or through marriages, and that it was quite complicated how the titles of controlling the land titles. I'm not talking about a laird or an earl type title, but or a duke, but just the land itself and who controlled it. And then I'm also a Keller, and in the Germanic countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Austria, German-speaking cantons of Switzerland, there are many prominent people and been famous scientists that with the name Keller. And Donald means ruler in the Northern European Scottish. That's literally what it means. So if you look at Bradford, there's a Bradford law of statistics. You can say Bradford's rule, Bradford's law, math, statistics. You can search for that. There's a Townsend's law of electrodynamics having to do with the electrodynamics of atoms, the protons, electrons, and such. And when atomic theory was new, and a Norman Irishman, sometimes called an Anglo-English Irishman. So he wasn't of Irish descent. They were colonists that came over when Ireland was conquered by the Norman elites of England, and then they, for their loyalty and to keep control of the land, they were given estates in Ireland. So he's from that class of people. He's not like, the Irish indigenous people. And that's, I could go on and on. There's a Townsend's law of physics and a Bradford's law of math, and then there's William Bradford, who is my direct ancestor, and even today, my grandmother was the head of the Women's Republicans for the United States. My stepfather was head of the National Trial Lawyers Association for the entire United States. My great-grandfather was a senator. So my family in the United States founded most of its institutions, like its government, its educational system, the churches, pretty much every aspect. As we were the first ones here, and we were the leaders of the first colonists, and European nobility and wealthy families wanted, like say the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, as they rose, these younger families wanted to marry into these old Norman power establishment families. So that's how you get the more diversity, I guess DNA wise, by getting some Jewish and maybe British English instead of Norman English blood in you, and that kind of thing. So there isn't really that much inbreeding. It's there's a lot of new blood strains and I guess sub races you could say, brought in. But my concern is, what is defamation of character? And all I'm trying to establish is I'm a member. I consider myself part, or I am, whether I want to be or not, part of like the Rothschilds, the Rothschilds, the Red Shields, the Rockefellers, the Roosevelts, the Bushes, and so forth. And I see a lot of defamation of people that, in my experience, face to face, and that are very good people devoted to charity and good works. Like my grandmother was very much for civil rights when it was unpopular, when the vast majority of white Caucasian type Americans and even some African Americans and Latino Americans didn't want to upset the apple cart. They're like, "Ooh, no, let's just keep things the way they are." And she, that family was always abolitionist to the point of being attacked with murder attempts that caused serious injury, multiple assassination attempts on members of the family, because we are for equal rights for Jews and blacks and others. So, at least under the law, equal rights and the right to education, and to go to school with whites and that type of thing, which was very unpopular. And the Republicans were that back when my grandmother, who's been passed away, for a couple decades now, that she was very active in politics from a teenager until she passed away. So she had over like 50, 60 years of activity in politics, and for a woman, made it about high a position. And once women had the vote, that was a powerful position, because women can vote as well. And just picking one person in my family. So I am from that class of people, and not just in the remote past, in the present, there are people in my family that are powerful and influential. And my whole extended family, most everyone is wealthy, which means I would say they have at least a few $1 million to over 100 million, plus type fortunes. And most of them, their great-grandparents were wealthy. So it's an older money, older, well-established. We, in some ways, are, as a clan or extended network, are this establishment that's always getting attacked and defamed. We are Illuminati, in that is an old order that goes way back. The concept, the Roman Catholics have it. It's not sinister. It just means you're enlightened and you're educated. You understand cause and effect, and what's a fact and what's a fantasy, and also you have a higher moral knowledge and better judgment than the average person. You've been trained from childhood, from infancy, on proper manners and that type of thing. So what is defamation of character? This says we've all heard of libel and slander, but understand the intricate legal concepts involved in these complex cases. Most people have heard of the terms libel and slander, but these two terms fall under the larger umbrella of defamation of character. Libel is written defamation, and slander is spoken defamation. But what is defamation? In this article, we'll explore the legal definition of defamation, what you'll need to prove in order to bring a successful defamation claim against someone, and more. Defamation defined. Defamation is a false statement someone makes about you, which they publish as a statement of fact, which harms your personal or professional reputation or causes you other damages, including financial loss and emotional stress. Because it's so important, I'm going to read this again, hopefully smoother. Defamation is a false statement someone makes about you, which they publish as a statement of fact, and which harms your personal and or professional reputation or causes you other damages, including financial loss and emotional stress. A statement that is merely someone's opinion is not defamatory unless it is presented as if it were fact. If someone writes, "It seems to me that John Smith is a crooked politician," that most likely is protected speech. Courts do not want to hinder public speech, even about controversial subjects. So opinions generally are protected speech. However, if the statement is John Smith is a crooked politician and it is not a true statement, it may be defamatory. It is a fine distinction to bear in mind, but an important one, and it's highlighted in blue, but an important one. What defamation claimants need to prove? To prevail on a defamation claim, if you are a private individual, you must first prove that the statement was false. If the statement is true, no matter how unflattering it may be, your claim will be barred. That means negated. They won't take the claim because truth is an absolute defense to a defamation act. So if they call you a child molester and there's proof that you're a child molester, then that's not defamation. In addition, you will need to prove that the statement was made by a person who either knew it was false at the time or showed reckless disregard for whether it was true or false. That in court would be quite difficult, having foreknowledge and being raised by lawyers, intention. Intention. In real estate, it says location. It's a tongue twister. For lawyers and judges, it is, or trial lawyers and judges, it is intention. What do you intend? Did you intend to run someone over in the car, or were you bending over, wiping some food off of your child's clothing in an innocent act? You ran over someone on a bicycle in your minivan. You weren't intending to hit, or was it a hit by a criminal organization to run somebody over with a pickup truck or something, because they know they ride bicycles and they can catch them on the road and run them over with their pickup truck in a stretch of road with few people around and probably get away with a hit and run murder. So that's the big difference in intention. A soccer mom dealing with several children in the car is distracted and hits a bicyclist, or a hitman for an organized crime syndicate intentionally runs over a priest because the priest has been collaborating, trying to get arrests made for the against the crime syndicate who he thinks are terrorizing his parishioners. So they're two very different. Either both individuals on bicycles were hit by vehicles, while one was an intentional murder and the other was just a mother trying to care for her children and lost control of her vehicle for a moment and hit someone, causing severe injury. Finally, the statement also must be published. The most common examples of publication would be inclusion in a newspaper or magazine, or repetition on a news broadcast on TV or online. But if the speaker repeats the statement to any third party, it will still constitute defamation. In the average case, if you can prove these three things: false statement, made knowingly or recklessly, or published to others, a court will presume that you suffered damages without any showing of damages. You could receive compensation for provable losses. But to recover so-called punitive damages, that's punishment, punitive damages intended to make an example of the person, to discourage that behavior, I'm adding some things, or entity that made the statement, you will need to show that the statement was made maliciously. That's again, intent. Malicious is from Latin based, for bad, wicked. That's what malicious comes from, which is more difficult showing to make. Likewise, if you are a public figure or official, and then that parenthesis, such as a celebrity or politician or a member of local government, comma, parentheses, you also must prove that the actual malice existed in making the statement. This is because courts will presume that, being in the public eye, it is more likely that various statements will be made about you, and that many of them will be opinions, because people who place themselves in the public domain are more likely to be exposed to questionable statements. It is harder for them to succeed with a defamation claim. Now, this is good here. Defamation in the real world. Oh, okay. The highlighter didn't work so well. An example of a defamation statement may be an accusation made against a public official, such as that he or she took a bribe or committed a crime. Assuming the allegation is presented as fact, an accusation of police brutality or immorality may also be defamation. Allegations of adultery or other sexual misconduct may be considered defamatory if they are false. Today, the pervasiveness of internet-based media makes it difficult to draw the line between opinion and defamatory speech. Many opinion-based publications, such as blogs, are widely read on a daily basis, but not everything on a blog or on a person's own website is automatically deemed opinion. This area of law is constantly evolving and is especially important to monitor given the increasing reliance on the internet for communication and media content. So, on balance, especially looking at it from a Jewish perspective, as a minority, and just I'm not a minority, and I have blonde hair and blue eyes and fair skin with some freckles, but I'm not a minority in that way. But as a Jew, that being under 2% of the population for sure, you kind of have a different view than if you're from a larger group like the Christians, a large religion like world viewpoint, and you can see, and I am a Zionist in that I think that Jews need a homeland where the official state religion is Judaism, where Shabbat, which is critical, pivotal to Jews, can be organized the week around Shabbat because of its high precedence in Jewish culture, and businesses can close on Shabbat, and you can organize and have your state. Yom Kippur can be a day off from work and that type of thing. By having a mass of a certain number of millions of Jews in one place where the state holidays are around Judaism, having an ethno-religious state, and Jews are blonde hair, blue eyed, and ebony black, and all skin types, the yellowish Asian colored Jews, and so Judaism isn't, it is a religion in my opinion, not a race. And although Ashkenazi Jews may be similar DNA tests and everything, because they're from a similar region and intermarried amongst each other for hundreds of years, and it's detectable on a DNA test, but overall it's a religion. And having a state like Argentina is a Roman Catholic state officially in their constitution, so Roman Catholics around the world can move there and live in a country where their holidays like Easter and Christmas are honored, and Sunday is their Sabbath and kept special. So I see a huge amount of what I call false claims against Zionist Jews, and a lot of hatred, and a lot the old noble, I'll call old money, power elite families, where they select a few people from each family clan to be involved in politics and to be head of non-for-profit foundations and that type of thing. To do that and be under constant attack of false accusations of high crimes, mass murder, child molestation, organ harvesting, and these are people of my class and my clans, and they are not giving. And if you're going to make, the bigger the claim of a horrific crime, the bigger the evidence, or at least you need to provide some evidence. And I see YouTube puts out thousands of defamatory videos, or allows them to be posted, that are defaming my extended family and my social class and countries I love, the United States, Canada, Israel, France, the United Kingdom. And I just see time and again the royal family of England attacked, the Rothschilds being attacked, the Rockefellers, the Bushes. I see huge claims against the Clintons, and where I don't see the proper evidence for making such huge, and same with the Bushes. Seems like any family that stays in the public light for very long at a high level gets charged with. And if they did these crimes, I'm all for the prosecution, but they need to put the evidence out there, and not just, you can just make up horrible things and say them about people, the most dastardly crimes. That's all I have. I'll say au revoir.